If I have to switch from. Okay. So I was thinking you are talking about somebody else. No, you are talking about me actually.
You are the one. You are the one, sir.
You still hear me?
Yes, sir. You are loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. So sorry for coming a bit behind schedule, but I cannot see myself on the screen.
Well, we are seeing you. We can see you. I'm seeing you, sir. And I'm sure everybody else can see you. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry for coming a bit late, and it's nice interacting with this program. So I think I will just go straight. It's an opportunity to speak as an occasion like this. And I think I will just go straight to our training today. You see, when we talk of pest control, generally, it's another ball game. When you talk of pest control in a food and beverage organization, any little mistake, you can poison a lot of people. You can kill a lot of people. You can cause a lot of hazard. Save time. Then the objective of this training, like we all know, I think Mr. Rutmans will have told you that. Slide 1, please. Mr. Rutmans.
We're moving it now. We're moving it. Yeah, we're there.
Yes. We say the objective is to equip audience with integrated pest management procedure in the fast-moving consumer goods and food processing industries. Then to arm participants with knowledge of safely eradicating pests. You see, that word is key, safely eradicating pests. It's not just eradicating pests. You have to eradicate them safely in a food industry. Then at the end of the training, participants should be able to manage pest challenges in the food industry. Those are our objectives. Then introduction. We say pests are drawn to food, and it can create huge problem in food facilities, making it necessary for all food-related facilities to have a proper integrated pest management program in place to maintain the high standard required by their food safety program. You see, pests, just like human beings, they look for what to eat. So naturally, they are drawn to food companies and food producing organizations. In an attempt to look for what to eat, sometimes I used to say, hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
As long as
we can no longer hear.
Yes, I'm trying to see why. Hello, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now, sir.
Okay. Who are the food and beverage industry in Nigeria? We talk about food safety, inspection and auditing of food premises, pests that pose as challenges in the food and beverage industry, and procedure for their control. Like I said earlier, we all know the food industry, like the Pepsi, the Coca-Cola, the Dangote of this world, the flour mills, and all these other companies. And you found out one thing, that in Nigeria, some of our, hello? I can hear some noises at the back, please. Okay, let me just continue. We have the Coca-Cola, the Pepsi, the Nestle, Dangote, flour mills, and other food organizations in Nigeria. And you'll be surprised that some of our products being produced in Nigeria are not being accepted for export abroad. These are some of the reasons why we need to do proper pest control in these organizations, so that apart from the fact that the food will now be safe for human consumption, it can be used for export to earn foreign exchange for the country, and to get healthy food, not just anyhow food. And like I said, I've mentioned the various food companies we're talking about. That's not the end anyway. There are so many others that we didn't mention, like the what is it called? Olam Group, Pasta Group, so many of them. Those are the food companies we're talking about here. Then we now talk about the requirements needed. Next slide, please. The requirements needed to work with food and beverage industries in Nigeria. The next one, the requirements needed to work with food and beverage industry in Nigeria. We talk about service.
Next slide.
Yes, next slide. We talk about this. We talk about service agreement. When we say service agreement, any company that you service as a pest control company, you must have a service agreement. This agreement tells the frequency of treatment, the amount that you should be paid, how you should visit, the maintenance regime. Everything will be spelled out, and how they will even pay you, and the chemical and the concession, everything will be listed in the agreement. You must have an agreement. That is number one. Then, to be a pest control company in Nigeria, you must be licensed. And the only recognized licensee body in Nigeria is the EHORECON. That is the Environmental Health Officers Registration Council of Nigeria, as established by Act of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Act has seen so many reviews, but they are the only body licensed that can license you to practice in Nigeria. Then you have the permits. You have various permits, local government. The law states that if you work in any local government, you must obtain a permit from that local government. Even though we are not here to talk about the law today, the law stipulates that the local government must not collect less than 10,000 naira from you. But like I said, we are not here to talk about that today. Then you must belong to a professional body. And so far in Nigeria today, the only professional body recognized is the Pest Control Association of Nigeria. You must be a member. Then part of the requirement is your certificates of competence. PECAN do carry out trainings, and we even have members like Rotimans, like what we are doing now. They carry out periodic trainings of members. There are even some in-house training you can arrange with them. Maybe after this program, you get in touch with Rotimans. They can arrange to come and train you in your company. You don't need to come to them. They can come to your company and train you, and their certificates are highly recognized and appreciated all over the world. Then you must have insurance, preferably professional indemnity insurance. Why do we need professional indemnity? This one, to put it in a layman language, if there's an incident in your client's place, that is where you work, the insurance, instead of you paying, the insurance company will pay for the damages. Probably in the course of your work, you damage some of their materials or something happened, the insurance company will pay. So then you must have that. Then the material safety data sheet of the chemical you tend to use, you need to have them. Then your tax receipts from the Federal Inland Revenue, all those things must be intact. Those are the things, part of the requirements you need. Then I mentioned list of some recommended chemicals and equipment. This is not the total list anyway. This is just part of the list. You see, in pest control, you don't just use anyhow chemical. There are food grade chemicals. and there are public health chemicals. You see, some people just go to the field, all these sniper, blah, 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 they start using them. That is not acceptable in a food and beverage organization. So that's why I just listed some chemicals here. If you want any of these chemicals, you can equally reach out to Mr. Rotimas. They sell, they market most of these, all of these chemicals. We have deltamethrin. Deltamethrin comes in various forms and combinations. Let me just speak a little. I will run through the other one, but let me just speak a little about deltamethrin. There was a time that a company I service, they specifically requested for Keotrin, which is a band of deltamethrin from Bayer. I'm not marketing any company, please. And at that time, there was no Keotrin in Nigeria. We have to go as far as, I believe Mr. Donan is listening. He is the representative of Bayer in Nigeria. We went as far as Ghana to get deltamethrin because that company was a food company and they insisted on Keotrin, that is what they want. And at the beginning, while we were negotiating for the contracts, I promised them I would get them Keotrin. We went as far as Ghana to get Keotrin. We went as far as Namibia to get Keotrin. So there are food grade chemicals and there are public health chemicals. Like I mentioned, deltamethrin, cockroach gel, alcypanate, insectocultures. As per the insectocultures, these days is out of fashion. It's not every location in a food company that you can use electric insect killers. You know those electric insect killers that the insect will explode and it will spread the pieces of the insect all over. It's outdated. Insectocultures. This one use glue boards. They have them at Rotiman's integrated services. You can get them there. They have different sizes depending on your ability and your capability. Then we have flucomorphine, bromadiolone. Those ones are rodenticized. Bromadiolone, brodifaconate, difethialone. Then we have rodent bait and glue stations and rodent glue boards. All these ones, they are professional. You did not, in most cases, there are certain areas you can only use fume. What do I mean by fume? When you say you do fumigation, in most food and beverage companies, apart from the gutters outside and some areas, inside their factory, you hardly use fumigation. That is fume. Please, I want you to take note of that. So listed here are some of the recommended chemicals and equipment. This is not all anyway. It's just a list of few of the chemicals you can use. And like I said, they are food grade and they are highly recommended. Next slide, please. Then food safety. I said the presence of pests in any food handling premises is unacceptable. Yes. The risks posed by pests include the spread of disease, pathogen, and transfer from the guts of or external surface of the pest. I don't know how many of you have watched the video of ordinary housefly landing on a surface or on a food surface. If you have a kind of telescopic view of that housefly, under 1 minute, the number of eggs the housefly will lay on that surface. These eggs are so tiny that looking at it physically, it might seem nothing is happening. But in food organizations, in food sector or beverage sector, This is unacceptable. So they spread disease. Some of them, most of these housefly, maybe they just come from the toilet area, from the gutters or waste area, and they just land on this food. They transmit pathogens, that is disease-causing organisms from, and this one can just be, even apart from the ones they lay on their body, just landing on that surface can cause a lot of problem. Then the damage to properties is another problem. For example, rats. If you have rats in a place, they can eat up your cotton, they can eat up the products, they can create holes on the doors, and even your furniture, and even wire. I've seen places where rats cause electric problem. The wire will just touch each other, positive and negative, and there will be problem of electricity and inferno. So these are the damage. Then contamination of work surfaces and foodstuff. Like I said, when they land on the food surfaces, already that surface is contaminated. We all remember during this, it's still on anyway, this COVID problem. Everybody, they say if you sneeze, if you touch a surface, but when you look at that surface physically, you virtually not see anything. But that is why we are asked to cover our nose, use hand gloves, sanitize our hand. The same thing applies on food organizations and beverage organizations. You might not see some of these pathogens physically, but they are there if the pests are there. Then adverse public opinion and loss of reputation. I said it earlier that some countries, they don't accept products from Nigeria, especially products like beverages, like food stuff. They will tell you the food or whatever is contaminated. So these are why we should take our pest control very seriously. Then prosecution and closure. You see, the government, through the various ministry of Health, Ministry of Environment, they have their own standard. And once they have their agents around, they have their staff, once they get to your office and they notice that your place is not neat or you are not maintaining the standard, you are in, for example, Ministry of Health, they go around, Ministry of Environment, they go around, they just come one day and lock.
Volume, please. No more volume.
You're muted.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Please go ahead, sir.
All right. So those are some of the problems that presence of pests. Like I said, the staff, when you have, for example, a lot of mosquito in your premises, you just find out that your staff, they go to hospital most of the time. You lose man hours through sickness, sick leave, this and that. Those are the problem caused by all these pests. Then let's now go to food safety. Next slide. Food safety, the next one. There we say inspection and auditing of food premises. You see, inspection and auditing of food premises is another topic on its own. Another topic in the sense that it can take a whole session like this, but we just have to cut it very briefly. As integrated pest management is a systematic approach to pest management, which comprises building, machinery, and materials design. For example, when you go to, okay, let me just give you a little comparison. In houses, residential houses, the corners of our houses, the only way I can describe it, you get it, is it's like angle 90. The angle is very sharp. you know, the wall comes to the ground and the floor take off almost immediately from the wall. But in most food and beverage industry, it's not so. The angle, because the way our houses are built, that sharp angle provide hiding places for some very tiny pests. But you will notice when you go to the company you service, try and check out what I'm telling you now. You will notice that the angles are not sharp. They make it in such a way that it's just smooth, and they design the angles in such a way that it's smooth. And this one is just to stop pests from hiding at this corner. Excuse me. So that one affects the design. Factory, food organizations, their buildings, their factory are designed in a different way from houses. We say building maintenance and exclusion practices. For example, when they install machines, they will know that one day this machine will be due for servicing. I'm talking of factory, food companies, and beverage companies now. They have to design the building in such a way that you can go in, the machines can be brought out for maintenance, or even if the maintenance is going to be done on site, it will be easier for the engineers that will do the maintenance. Then advice on good housekeeping practices. For example, ordinary fixing mosquito nets or nets on windows control a lot of insects. What do I mean by that? There are some companies maybe that are in not too far from residential areas. When you go to all these companies, you notice, you see flies. These are some of the things you look out for during your inspection. And most of them might not have mosquito nets. Mosquito net, ordinary just fixing mosquito net, then the door, by the window, by the door, all these little things, they go a long way in controlling insects. Then I say advice on good housekeeping services. Housekeeping, the way you clean your environment. For example, in companies where they do shifts, when they do shifts, the person that is handing over to the next shift must ensure that he or she leaves his table or his section very clean and tidy for the incoming person. All these little things goes a long way. And before I forget, let me just mention it. The net you fix at the entrance, the way it's open, goes a long way to control pests. In most cases, it is advisable that you push it out rather than pushing it in. I'm talking of those door control nets now. You know, the nets you fix by the door is advisable because sometimes some of these flies or some of these mosquitoes or all these other pests might be on the door. By the time you push them in, some of them will fall right in. But if you push them out, there's every likelihood that they will not go into the factory. That's just by the way. Then inspections and monitoring. When you have a client or you service a company, it's not just something you go there, quarterly treatment. If I do it now, before they see me, it's the next 3 months. No. You have to monitor and follow up. There are some corrective measures you must take. It's a continuous, that is why you have an agreement. That is why you have a contract. It's not a one-off thing. When you inspect, you tell them certain steps. In some cases, you might need to have one of your staff on ground that will be doing that will be doing regular checks or attend to daily pest issues. Physical control measures. I just mentioned one, that you fix mosquito net, then sometimes just cleaning the environment, or in some cases, just ensure that the staff or the pest control team, they do the right thing. Then chemical, you see that we are virtually putting chemical as the last place. This is virtually a last option in IPM, chemical control. And you have to reduce the amount of chemical as much as possible. It's always when all other control measures, physical and every other control, have failed. That is when you revert to chemical. It's just that it's not when they call you, I have a problem of pests, just go there. Okay, you go with a sprayer and you start spraying. No, that one will not work. That is not the way to go about it. Then habitat / environmental management. Let me share an experience on this. A man called me. He said he had bats in his premises. He saw bats. You know, those bats, they fly. In fact, the one in his compound, they fly during the day. That tells you how much they are. They are just so much. And I got there, I saw a lot of trees in his compound. He now said, and I told him, you need to trim these trees, that they stay on, and the trees are very tall. And I told him, you need to trim these trees. This is where they stay. He said, I love the trees, that he doesn't want anything to happen to the trees. Then I just told him, you have to live with the bats. Because if I say, let me apply chemical, more or less like I'm polluting the environment, they will move from your compound to your neighbor's compound. So some of these things, just little advice here and there, little things here and there. Sometimes it might just be an open, what we call gutter, open gutter. They might need to close it. That will solve a lot of problems. But it's not every time you just go to a place, you go there, okay, I'll bring my machine tomorrow, or you go with your machine, you start applying chemical. That should be the last option. Then, next slide, please. I said, it said inspection focuses on what? Why audit focuses on why? You see, if you're going to talk about audit, it takes, like I said, another section. And I know a lot of our colleagues, those of you out there and some of you listening to me, have challenges during audit. I've had cases where some company will say, oh, why not come to me to where I'm servicing? They are carrying out audit. I just told him, you have not done your homework very well. If you keep all your records, do the right thing at the right time, you will not have challenge with audit. Next slide. I say pests that pose as challenges in the food and beverage industry. I listed some here as rodent, rats, mice, squirrel, cockroaches, geckos, weevils, flies, ants. There are still others, but these are just some of them. Rats, mice, squirrel, cockroaches, geckos, weevils, flies, ants. Depending on the kind of beverages they produce or the kind of food they produce, that will be what will attract the particular pest. Problems associated with rats and mice. We are taking rats now. The main reason for control are to reduce or eliminate. I had an English client, or let me just say white man as a client. This man didn't want to see wall gecko at all. And I told him, if outside your house, you can see one or two. Because the way his ceiling was made then, there are some openings by the side, which I told him he needs to block. But if they are going to block those holes, that means they have to remove almost all the ceiling, and because it's like the wall is not straight, so the ceiling was not straight. Those are where the geckos coming from. He said he does not have money to do that. I said, since the geckos are not inside your house, you should be able to live with one or two. To them over there in temperate countries, all those cold regions, it's a taboo or whatever to see a gecko. But in Africa here, if you see one or two in a residential area, I told him the solution, if you don't want to see them at all, that is the solution. But he said he didn't have money. I said, then one or two outside, not inside your house, you should be ready to live with them. I said, the problem I was saying with rat, I said, it spread disease. I think we've already discussed this. You know, rats, most time they stay in holes, stay in all those crevices, cracks, and some, like the one they call Norway rats, stay in the roof and all those things. They carry dirt on their body. And like I said, at times when they get to where they feed, probably they forget themselves that they are feeding. They just eat, defecate, urinate, you know, they get carried away. So through these activities of theirs, they spread diseases. And like I said, they contaminate products. Most of the time, through this, their defecation and urination, they contaminate. And those of them that stay inside the gutter or inside gutter, walking inside the gutter, their body is already littered or filled with pathogens. When they come in contact with food, they contaminate the food. Then damage to food stocks and property. You see, when, for example, let's say flour, those of you that work at flour mills or rice mill, you know, when rats enter there, they first of all open the bags to eat what is inside. I had an encounter some years back. The company, something like, the product is like, I believe you all know Caprisone. It's like Caprisone. You know, it's in this aluminum package. The rats, we just go in, they open one. After licking it for like 2 seconds, they just run and go and open another one. That one that they open, we just, the content will be dropping. You can imagine the economic loss that will be suffered by such organization. As they open the second one, they are opening the third one. So they contaminate product and they damage food stocks and property. Like I said earlier, rodents, they eat virtually anything. That is, I'm talking of rats now. Some companies, you go there, they eat the cotton, they eat the wire, they eat the furniture, they eat companies that still use rug, they eat the rug. And when you even go to the warehouses, because our focus today is on food and beverages, all their stuff. I had a client that export pepper to the UK, grounded pepper now. I don't know how these rats manage. You won't believe that rats, they open up the packages and they still eat pepper. I'm talking of raw pepper, not mixed with anything. Grounded pepper, they will open up the packages, and once those packages are open, they are no more good for export. So those are some of the damages. Then I mentioned contamination with feces and urine, as well as other physical and microbial contaminants. That is just the damage caused by rats. Then cockroach own. Next slide, please. It's even worse. Cockroaches, I say, contaminate food directly as they move filth to food. You know, most companies, you see cockroaches in very dark and filthy place. For example, some of them lives in soakaway. That is where the septic tank is. That is where you see them. And at night, they come out. And it is what they carry from the septic tank that they will now use. They will just walk or crawl on those products, bringing pathogens on these products. You know, most of these organizations, they have way of testing their product, the final product, for any presence of pathogens. And I said they contaminate food directly as they move from field to food indiscriminately, and are therefore implicated in the mechanical transmission of many pathogens. You see, such as those causing poisoning and wound infections. So cockroaches is even worse. And like the one they call German cockroach now, you know, they are so tiny. They can hide in cracks, crevices, anywhere. And the moment they just come out, seeing a single one in a stack of products causes a lot of, that product automatically is disqualified. Then I said cockroach foul their environment with feces, just like rats. It's like they just forget themselves they are in the midst of food. They stay there, defecate there, urinate there, and regurgitated food and the taint material. You know, naturally, cockroach smell. I have this ability. If I enter a room, if that room or that place is infected with cockroach, the moment I enter, I will know. And I believe most pest controllers have this gift. They have this very terrible odor. I just enter and say, oh, there are cockroaches here. And I get them. It said the hair in infested premise may contain fragments of their exoskeletons and cockroach excrement. Let me just link this with cockroach gel. Some of us have been using cockroach gel. The way the gel works is that cockroaches, it makes cockroach, it causes a kind of, let me call it cannibalism among cockroaches. They start eating up themselves. If this one tastes the gel, I'm talking of a cockroach gel now. The gel will make the cockroach, that particular cockroach, to now be palatable to another cockroach. That cockroach will eat up that one that has eaten the gel, eating that one, another cockroach, that circle will just continue. That is the way cockroach gel works. It just they start eating themselves until they finish up themselves. And in most cases, the one that eats the other one don't really finish what he started. What do I mean? There will still be fragments, pieces of the one eaten by previous cockroach. And if care is not taken, if proper sanitation or proper cleaning is not done, the fragment of the remaining cockroach will move or will fall into food or beverage substance, which will cause contamination or even food poisoning. That's just right. Then I mentioned about flies and ants. I think I've discussed this one earlier. You see, the area of using electric insecticides, about the flies and ants, they do the same damage like cockroach. You know, flies, like I said earlier, they stay virtually in the toilet area, in the gutters. In fact, they like smelly areas. So they hang around there and coming, they just land on the food, they lay the egg, they bring pathogen, that is disease-causing organism on the food, they contaminate the food, and at the end of the day, they spread disease to man and other distance, other consumers of the product. Then I say food containing ants, talking of ants now, must be discarded to prevent contaminated product being sold or serve. Even ordinary, let's even take our fast food restaurant. If you go to any fast food and you see housefly or dead ants in their soup or in their food, I mean, that one, if care is not taken, with the advent of a phone, everybody will just fix it, put it on phone, and it starts circulating. Before you know it, that company might close down. That is the power of telecommunications now. And the presence of ants in packaging will also make the product unsellable, which is true. That is what all these European countries are looking for. That is why we need to take our pest control very seriously. They just look for some of these tiny, which we see as nothing. They just look for it and they take serious note of it. I said the disposal of waste food may result in a greater chance of rodent infestation. When they see food, they just go there. Then next slide. Okay, procedure for, we are now going to talk about control. This area, like I said earlier, if you are an organization listening to me, and you need training, go look no further. Go to Rotimans. They can come to your office to train your staff. You can go to their training school. They have a training school, and your staff will be trained on pest management and integrated pest management. Then I say pest awareness and staff training. Rothmans, very good at that. Then pests and their habits. For example, when you say pests and their habits, very soon, already we have the mango and the cashew season here. Very soon we'll start seeing flies everywhere, especially those of us working in the north. We are always very conscious of the mango and cashew season. It might not be that pronounced or prominent in the west here or in the south here, but in the north, during the mango and cashew season, we have lots and lots of flies. So you should take note of that. You study the pests and their habitat and their habits. Then good hygiene. That is one of the ways of controlling pests. Cleaning, that is proper cleaning, good hygiene. For example, if you have waterways, which we call gutter, in your premises or where you treat, and the water there is not flowing, it's stagnant, already you have an issue. The water should flow. Then ensure, apart from flowing, ensure that you monitor the stock management. That is first in, first out, that they practice it. Some company, for convenience, this is very common with most of these, let me say, forklift drivers. They always want to use the easy way out. Instead of following the products that go into the warehouse first, must be the one that should come out first. But because those ones are very close to the door, they just drive in, they just bring out the one that is closer, and the one that is inside. All these products, they have a definite shelf life. If they stay too long, they get spoiled. So you have to move them, monitor stock management. That is what we're talking about, stock management. That is first in, they call it FIFO, first in, first out. And exclusion practice should be emphasized. For example, there are some companies or there are some products that we need to be reworked. Those ones should be kept separate from products. There are also others that maybe they are still studying. Those ones too should be kept separate. So all these things should be undertaken by various organizations. Then information posters, very important. Pest control, let me say pest control in Nigeria has not really imbibed this culture to my satisfaction. What do I mean by that? It's like these safety guys have taken over the whole thing. Posters will tell you what to do. Safety first. Injury to one is injury to all. Safety this week. All those things, then keep it. If it's not safe, don't do it. All these things, they should be written boldly and placed in strategic places in companies and organizations. Not even only food and beverage companies. They should be written boldly and placed in conspicuous places, just to remind ourselves that that is the reason we are here. For example, I've been to companies where they will say 100% safety. This year must be accident-free. Remember your accident-free bonus. They give their staff for maintaining 100% accident-free year. They have a bonus. They just put it there in that company. I say, oh, this is nice. It will motivate the staff. Then I said door and window discipline. I've said this earlier that, for example, ordinary fixing nets, there are some doors that, some windows that can be shut, that you need net. Then doors too. I said, if you want to fix mosquito nets, that is at the entrances, the emphasis should be that the door should open out, not being pushed inside. It should be like, if you want to go in, you pull the door out. Rather than, if you want to go in, you push it out, push it in, or somebody from inside wants to go out. Those are some of those little things you need to take note of when you are working in food and drug organization. Hygiene and housekeeping. Like I said earlier, hygiene, you need to do it properly. Cleanliness, there are some places that ordinary cleaning, like we have, thank God for COVID, everybody now know about hand sanitization and everything, nose masks and all these things. But at the same time, we must clean all our desks, all the tables, everywhere should be clean. Make sure the environment, for example, if you have a very thick bush, you see all these little things, thick bush near a factory, it's not advisable. They should cut the bushes because these bushes serve as hiding places for all these rodents. They just go there, they hide, and you won't see them. So then stock storage and rotation. I've said that. Ensure they practice first in, first out. That is the product that go in first, come out first. Not that they just stack everything. Those ones at the back, all these products, they have shelf life. There's a limited period of time that they can stay healthy, that they can stay good. After some time, they get bad. Then documentation. This is very key in pest management. Every operation you have, you must report it. Because it's often said in documentation that if it's not reported, if it's not documented, it did not happen. If it's not documented, it did not happen. When you talk of documentation, there are so many documents you need to keep. You see, one advantage of documentation is that it helps you, it makes your job easier. And I've had an example of a company that one of their supervisors left. The man was the one keeping the records, and he left with the whole record, with the record of the company. He didn't leave it. Probably they had acrimonious departure or whatever. The guy just left. But when you have your documents at the right places, at the right time, all your recordings are kept. Even if a staff leaves, that is just by the way anyway. If a staff leaves, it will not affect you because everything is being done. Like I said, if you don't record it, it is believed it did not happen. For example, if you come for a maintenance job, maybe you come to a company every 2 days and something happened. You say, you were there yesterday. They will ask you, where is the report? If it's not done, these are little things that the auditors look for, and it helps us in our services. I say reporting and record keeping. The organization of a reporting system and maintenance of record is essential if good manufacturing practice status is to be achieved. Yes. I say records must be kept for the following reason: to highlight any recommendations, to demonstrate compliance with legislation, to monitor pest management processes as evidence of compliance to third-party auditors. Yes, I had a client that they had, is an international company really. They have their local auditors maybe every 6 months or whatever, but the international auditor comes once in 2 years. In fact, I tell you, this guy already knows what is in our logbook with the company, the agreement, MSDS, insurance, just everything. So there was a time they changed their quality control manager and our agreement with the company expired. And I told him, this contract is about to expire, let's renew it. But due to the relationship we had, he said they would do it, they would do it, they would do it. We are on that when the international auditor came. When he came, after checking the file, he already knew the date the agreement will expire. After discussing everything, I told them that you don't have a pest management agreement. Because what they did, they just removed those things that they knew was not in the right place from the file. The guy said, they have. Oh, they misplaced it, blah, blah, blah. He now said he wants to see it. Meanwhile, there was no agreement. And you know, in auditing and all these things, that is a strike. When you hand a strike, it's negative. At the end of the day, they could not produce the agreement because there was no agreement. So what am I saying? All these things are good for you. For example, even in case of emergency, I've seen cases where maybe something happened and maybe the pest control team was not on site, but the man claimed he was there. And when he was told to show where he recorded his visit, there was nothing to show. So all these things are very good for your own good. Then I say pest control report. We are still on the auditing area anyway. Pest control. Inspection report must be concise and legible and stored in an accessible binder. As a typical pest control report will contain as a minimum treatment date. That one is sacrosanct. For example, then details of pest control contractor and name of technician servicing the company. That one, you know who is responsible for what. Then the customer, the contact person of the company, whether it's the quality control, whether it's the HSC, his name and his number, the contact person must always be there. Then the type of visit. Are you on a scheduled visit or follow-up, or they had an issue and they call you, or maybe for some other reasons? Those things must be specified in your report. Then the pest found. For example, if you have a pest sighting log or a card, and somebody reported that they saw maybe a snake or a rat somewhere in the farm. whoever is making, but that one is still up front, we still get there. So you have to keep all these records, whether then the pest found action, that is the corrective action you took on that day. Whether is probably they say they saw a snake. There are sometimes let's take the case of rodent-based stations now. You might have earlier placed the rodent-based station in a wrong place or a place not frequented by rats. There might be need for you to move it to another location. Like that one, that can be the corrective action you took. Or probably the insectoculture, like I told you, the glue insectoculture. Maybe the insect, the gum is full. Everywhere is full. And probably you need to remove the gum and replace it. Those are corrective actions. Then in case you need to use a pesticide, maybe you need to apply pesticide somewhere, you have to name the pesticide, the concentration, and the quantity you use. These are some of the things that should be in your pest control reports. Then there are samples of pest control reports here. Maybe carbon, they give some to the people you work with, carbonless, then the numbering, very important. And these are just samples. Then service report. I said, record of job carried out during each visit, indicating pest activity and corrective action. Pest activity, depending on the complaints, or maybe it's a follow-up visit or whatever you went there to do, you must record it. For example, I have an example here. This one is for rat bait box. Each rat base, your company name, telephone number, and bait box number should be there. Then I don't know if you guys can just, like what I'm holding, can record 52 weeks. Like I said, this is just a sample. This one I'm holding can record 52 weeks, just front and back. 52 weeks record, that is a year. So I just put the week, the date the visit was done, the boss status. What do I mean by boss status? For example, in some organizations, they fix the base stations on the ground. If the base station is still fixed on the ground, you have to indicate. If it's sometimes, you know, all these forklift drivers or people, trucks, they just crush them, all these stuff. Then cleanliness, if the base station is in a clean slate, clean state, you indicate it. Then bait status, that is the bait inside the base station. If it's a glue, for example, if it's a glue station, there should be another column, base station, whether the bait is eating, whether it's wet, whether it's being removed, all these things has to be indicated. If it's a glue station now, you have to, there's still another column for cash. The insects or the pest that is caught by the glue station, then the pest control technician has to sign. This is an example of a service report. Then we said pest sighting log. In most cases, pest sighting log is for the client, if I may say, as in the company you work for, is their staff that will be seeing those pests and will be recording them. For example, maybe those who are at work in the night duty, they might just see rat, or they might see a snake or any other pest. They have to record it on a pest sighting log. You know, this pest sighting log, it will just be a kind of A4 paper where you put all these columns, you just hang them. You can put them in those transparent files. I believe you all know what I'm talking about. Those transparent files, and you hang them at some specific points. The pest citing law must contain name of person making the report, date and time the pest was cited, the location. For example, somebody might just see a cat in the warehouse, a cat. So then the pest scene. Under that situation, a cat has become a pest because it's not supposed to be there. Then any other relevant information. Then whenever the pest control team now come and see that, there should be a column for corrective action that he took after all the complaints. For example, you saw a cat in a warehouse. What corrective action did you take? Did you set a trap? Did you set glue boards for the cat? Whatever corrective action you took, you have to record it. That is the essence of the pest citing law. Then, location of base monitor. We are still talking of report now. This is just like talking of base station map. Base station, glue station, insectoculture map. You must have it as part of your records. Then for baits now, quantity used, it has to be there. Risk assessment, post-treatment precaution. Let me give example about this. Sometimes when you use, let's say, rodent baits, very rarely, there are sometimes you might have non-target pests. You know your target, non-target animals now, not pests. Your target is for rats and mice. But sometimes you might have, for those that uses, though you're not supposed to use all these chronic rodenticide, for those that use chronic rodenticide, you might just put it and you find out a bird died. You need to know why that bird died. Because ordinarily, the base station is not meant for birds. It's just meant for rats and mice. So you need to know, assess why the bird have access. That's why rodent-based stations, like I said earlier, go to Rotiman's. In fact, he has them in millions and they are very cheap. Those ones ask key. The one he said ask key, not those ones you just put there and every dick and Harry. Sometimes some of the incident is that the pillars you put there, some of the staff might just carry them and go and use in their house, in their houses. And that reduces the effectiveness of your job. That is if it's even going to be effective at all. So buy the one with key, so that you keep the key, you lock it, it's safe for both humans and non-target pests. Then post-treatment precaution, recommendations on proving. That's why I say you need base stations with keys so that non-target pests will not have access to the bait. Hygiene and storing. Details of follow-up inspection. You see, follow-up inspections after post-treatment. Maybe you get there, like the table I showed earlier, the bait has been eaten. You need to indicate that the bait, fresh bait is applied, that you have replaced the one that is eating. That shows that area is maybe frequented by rats. So all these things will help in your report. Okay, this is just a sample of pest citing inventory. We've discussed this earlier. Then trend analysis. This just with those of you with Excel. If you keep all this record, just enter them into Excel format. It will give you the trend analysis, either in graphical form or in other form. Those of you familiar with Excel, we understand what we are talking about here. Just once you keep your record and you enter them as data in Excel, if you are not familiar with Excel, please go and do it. You enter them as data, it will come out. I don't know how to explain Excel format to anybody that is not familiar with it. But just keep your data and enter it, and it will come out either in graphic form in Excel. Then let's go to the next slide, please. We are even running out of I say where anticoagulant rodenticides are used outdoors, the following additional records should be kept. A site plan identifying area where bait has been laid. That is like the bait map for bait stations. Then details of the active ingredient, formulation and quantity used. We've discussed this earlier. You just write, that card shows, you just put it, then you show the formulation, the quantity you use, either per base station or, in fact, it's even better per base station so that you know the total quantity you use in that area. Then inspection report, which demonstrate the treatment frequency to check and replace base and to search for and remove dead rodent bodies where appropriate. Yes, this is very important. I've seen a company that whenever they see dead rats, they just throw the dead rats into the dustbin of the company. As a pest controller, you have to bury every dead rat you see. You see, that dustbin can reach anywhere. You can cause chain of reactions. That rat can, those disposing those waste, it can get anywhere. There are some tribes in Nigeria that eat rats. They will not see it as maybe died through poison. They will just see it as dead rats. And before you know it, food is ready. So please, whenever you see dead rats on site, ensure you bury them. That is the best way to dispose, or you burn them. That one might not be very convenient, but the best way is to bury them. Just bury them. Then report of any effect on non-target species and action taken to reduce risk. I think I've spoken about this. That is, for example, if you put rodent-based station and you put baits inside, and you just came and you saw birds dying, you have to check what is really going on. How do they have access to the rodent-based stations and things like that? You have to conduct your check to be able to reduce the risk. Then report of any interference or removal of baits. I've just told you, if you use baits that have no key, most baits these days have locks. Once you put your bait inside, you lock it. Human beings don't really have access to the bait boxes because they are locked. You have the key, except maybe you use, I've seen places where some people just construct some wooden stuff and they put baits in it. And this baits, some of the staff, you just take it and indirectly, it might have access. I mean, it might get to non-target pests or even cause food poisoning in home. Then report on conditions which may adversely affect treatment and remedial action. Let me just share an experience I had on this. There's a site where we work. They wash their site, in fact, every part of that site every day with warm water. So it got to say that the water, most time when we put, the water enters into those baits, and it's like those cleaners deliberately even flush the base stations. The water enters into the base station. So if you, most times, most of the base stations becomes wet. So after cracking our brain for some time, we now decided to use, there's another bait that has steps that is a bit higher. I think that took care of the problem. So because wet baits, like those bromadiolon and bodifacum we use, if water touches them, they just, do I say melted, or they soften up, and they might not be attractive or palatable to the target pest. So this one, we just went for a bigger, those bigger base stations have steps. So when they walk the floor, the water does not reach onto the base. Then evidence that control has been achieved within the prescribed time scale. That is, for example, like I said, you must keep record of dead rats, logbook for if they sight any pest or any other insect. For example, when you start, if a pest control company start working in an organization, and after maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, there are no changes. Maybe the flies are still coming as before, the rats are still running around, then something is wrong somewhere. Either the pest controller definitely is not doing something right. So these things should be taken note of. And once you keep your record, you will see, for example, the first week, how many dead rats were trapped or were killed, how many all those flies were trapped on these cetocutus. So keeping those records and feelings or feelers from people around will show you whether you are effective or not. Then the next, other reports. Next slide, please. I say safety data sheet. Material safety data sheet, you must always keep them. If you have cause to change your chemicals, the moment you change to another chemical, you need to inform whoever is in charge of the of your operations, and let him immediately have the material data sheet of your operation, and it must be available on site. Control of substance hazardous to us. Risk assessment, yes. Like I said, you must conduct, for example, this one comes basically in the area of storage. How do you store your chemical on site? Do you keep them in the company or you take them home? When you come to work, where do you keep your chemicals? I had an instance. There was a job we got some years back. How the company, the former company lost the job was that they gave a chemical, mixed chemical now, to a staff. You know, most of these emulsifiable concentrate appears when you mix them with water, they turn milky. So the guy got home, put it behind his fridge, and his son, coming from school, just saw it. Ah, daddy brought milk from office. He just took it and he drank it. That was, in fact, thank God the child didn't die. The guy lost his job, and the pest control consultant was sanctioned. In fact, was sacked for that singular act, because the child was taken to the company clinic, and when they were finding out what happened, they told them the truth. And if the information got to the management, that was how they sacked the pest control company, and the guy that was involved was sacked. So you have to be very conscious about storage and how you keep your chemicals. Site risk assessment, environmental risk assessment, we're still talking about the same thing. Then qualifications, insurance membership, and accreditation documents. All these just have to be ready at any time. Like I said, your insurance, don't even allow it to expire before you renew it. The insurance company, if anything happens, they will pay, provided you pay your premium regularly. Then I think, okay. Okay. So I think we are at the point of, thank you for listening. We are at the point of receiving questions now. We've taken much of our time. So if you have any questions, please go ahead now.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. We really appreciate the time you have put into this, the attention to details, and the intention to deliberately impact. Pray that God was His infinite mercy will replenish you in all form. Thank you so much. I'm going to start off with a question. Although we don't have so much time. Yes, so I'm going to drop my own questions, and I think because we still have to maybe have just 3-5 minutes to quickly tell you to share a short story, because what we've been doing is that we after you are done with your lectures, we ask you to quickly share a story of how you come into the business, and we want 1 or 2 people to listen to your story. And I'm always sure that your story will always, like before you came on board, I told them that I came to your house. I don't know if you remember, maybe 2015 or 2014, and your office was downstairs in the house. In my mind, I was like, is it this cover business that this Baba used to to build this house? That's a long time ago. So stories inspired, you understand, but that is not to shy away from the main topic of discussion. Well, to just buttress a lot of things you've said, dealing with this category of client helps the reputation of pest control companies. Like I said, the way it works, if you agree with me, sir, that sometimes if you are going to service Sheraton Hotel, let's assume that you are dropping your proposal in the Sheraton Hotel. Sheraton Hotel wants to be sure that have you done something with somebody or a client in their league before? Like it's always like they want to do their own background check, like to be sure that you are qualified. So what I'm trying to say is that sometimes if someone is coming into the business and all they have been doing is 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, duplexes, schools in the area, 1-star hotel, and suddenly the opportunity of CAD becomes, there is always this fear of like, how do I, even the building alone can be intimidating. When you go for inspection, you can be lost moving around in some of this building. So at the early stage of you dealing with some of these clients, I don't want to mention some of these names. When you have not had the experience with those big names, how were you able to handle, the fear of, yes, the job, but this is a big job that is coming suddenly, having to manage, because that aspect scares a lot of people. Some people had proposal, and when they are moving around, they see some facilities, they run away. They say, hey, no, I don't want to go and mess up myself. This is not, some people don't even have much knowledge, but they still going. So how were you able to manage? Because I know that there's always a first time when it comes to big clients, maybe the clients in the food industry. Yes, sir.
Thank you for that question. It's a very interesting question you asked, and I will try and cut it short, because if I say I should go into full details, we will not live here today. You see, I was fortunate to work in a, sorry, I will not want to mention names now. I was fortunate to work in a pest control company. The moment I finished from school, I read agree from University of Ife. So I joined that company. The company was doing well, really well. But along the line, the owner of the company was not even died now, was assassinated. So things just turned upside down. Then back to my own, after some of us stayed in that company for some time. In fact, after the assassination of the man, I still stayed for like 10 years. So, but when things got so bad that I now left. Like you said, the the breakthrough, let me just go straight to the breakthrough. I was just doing all the cover business, like you said. But in the course of working for that company, I developed friendships a lot. Then there was a man, the man, I will not mention his name too. Let me just, that man, the company used to give him 2,000 naira as Christmas bonus. Or is it Christmas bonus? No, Christmas gift every year. So when the man, the owner of the company died, the company, the family that took over, they no longer give me that money to give. That is, they no longer give that man the 2,000 naira. But I took it upon myself because of the friendship we have developed. I was giving that man the 2,000. In fact, at the time I increased it to 3 from my own pocket. So I was just doing that because anything I want to do, I want to do it well. So I was just giving I want Gawanika Fun, you know, for those who are not speaking about my orgasm, I give you. You understand? So I was just doing that. Along the line, the man left. He left that company. He now joined, that was how my foray into food and food and beverage company started. He was in a drug manufacturing company. He now went to a very big food company. That food company, when he got there, they were doing in-house pest management services. And they have branches all over Nigeria. So when he got there, he saw what they were doing. For example, their rule is that, for example, let me give one instance. If you are going to Onitsha to work now, they have branches and warehouses all over. You will take flight to the nearest airport. And as at then, I think the nearest airport to Onitsha was it Port Harcourt or somewhere around there? So imagine taking a plane to Port Harcourt or something, you will now enter motor from Port Harcourt to Onitsha. So, and the guy, it was not as if he's fully trained. He was one of their staff. So when he got there, he was like, what's happening here? He now said the transport alone is enough to hire a pest control company, talk less of other expenses. That was how that man called me. Beloved, except I want to lie, I made money from that company. That was, and you know, being my main person, he already know me. Sure, you understand? He already knows me. There was no much interview. He just called me. In fact, we started this way. Initially, he said, can I supply them chemical? I said, that is no problem. I'm talking about during the era of Nuvan. For those who have been in this business for long, during the era of Nuvan, I was supplying them. Every month, I was making like 40,000 naira. No, every week rather. Later, twice a week, I was making like 80,000 naira. Then at the time, it was like I was making like 80,000 naira every day from them, just supplying chemical, not doing anything. So when I now got to a stage, now say, instead of supplying us this chemical, why can't you come and be doing this thing? Like I said, they have warehouses virtually all over Nigeria. And the guy just gave me, that was the big break. So I can say I started big. So
okay.
that is just the,
are you trying to say that it is going to be a tough task for startup companies to get this without
let me give you one example. I was starting when things were rough. Like you said, I was doing residential. I had the client at This lady, what is this place called? Aguda. I had a client. The man, I work in his house. I deride. I'm talking of this era that we use zinc phosphide, no hand glove. So one day, I just want to give you some of the things that this I don't see too. I got there, I bought the fish as usual. I was the one doing the job, then no staff. I bought the fish. I went to the side of the house to mix it so that I will use it. Then the next day I will come for the spraying. The wife came to the side where I was trying to mix the fish. I left. I went to the other side. She came again to meet me. After I turned around their houses, about 3 places, and the wife was just coming. I now stayed. I was missing it. You know, the odor, terrible odor that zinc phosphide used to give. She was just making, this thing is smelling. I didn't answer her. She now asked one question. She now said, do you still use the hand to eat? I said, no, ma. I answered her politely. She now asked me, what do you use? I said, I use my leg. I tell you, that was the end of the job. The husband paid me, but they never called me again. And I was happy because that was like insulting me. He said, do you use this hand to eat? I said, no, man. He said, what do you use? I said, I use my leg. The man that used to be very friendly with me, the way we do the work was like on Friday, I would drop the baits. Saturday, we'll go there to spray. Then on Monday, I will go to his office to collect the money. But on getting to his office that day, he didn't even see me. He just sent the secretary, give me my money. And that was, so there are cases like that. But this one, it was just, the Bible says a man's, what is it called? Make way for him. It was the link. That man was what God, the first man that God used to cause a breakthrough in this field for me. I will not lie to you. That was the first major breakthrough. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I will open up the line for direct questions now. But on the final notes, I know that, you know, when you spoke about friendship and relationship management, in most of the food and beverage organizations, there are always quality control teams. Like what we see when we deal with hospitals, schools, where there are no technical personnel on ground. You just go there, negotiate, do the job, and go. You know, this quality control team, they sometimes are even far more knowledgeable than the pest controllers. They know everything you are coming to do. You know, they have idea. They may not be pest controllers, but they have idea, and they always have a way of drilling you, making sure that yes, you are doing the right thing at the right time. So what I'm trying to say is that for those that does not have this link, how easy is it to get this category of client? Because I said it before that the fortune of a company is going to change by the level of clientele that they have. It happened to us. For example, there was a client, I'm going to mention their name, and apologies to them. We're dealing with them since from 2013 to 2016. And to be very honest, there was nothing to show for it. We work on the island midnight because they have a branch of the island. We're getting 15,000 naira per quarter for a restaurant. And yes, it was terrible. You know, they were doing fine then, but you know, 15,000 naira, you go to their head office at Alausa to go and pick up a check, and the accountant will lambast you, will talk to you. Where are you coming? Do I have an appointment with you? You know, the 15,000 from quarter can be held for 4 months, and the cycle went and on. So there were, you know, we're just busy for nothing. You know, that's why I said that, you know. So at a point, that was the only client that I can say that we are the one that said that we are sorry, we're not working with you again. You know, when you can tell a client that, no, don't worry, let the job go, give the job to another person. Funny enough, about a week ago, somebody called from there and said, oh, we'd like to have you, well, if you can do prepayments, you know, and this is the cost. Yes, if you can pay ahead. And the man, I said, yes, that's the only condition. And I said, we're ready to work with you, but you have to pay us ahead. So without links, how easy is it to get this category of customers that fall into the category that we have spoken about tonight?
You see, Mr. Rotimas, between me and you, let's say there's always the God factor. One, then some people, they don't, like anywhere I am, if I give you my international passport now, you will see pest control service there. Some people hide their identity. In my church, everybody knows me as a pest controller. In my club, in my group, you see, for example, my eldest daughter, she called me agronomist. She always called me Baba Greek. She knows I read a Greek. That helped me in one way. You know, until recently, we've been using agri chemicals.
Yes.
So most times people don't advertise, they don't shout out. What do I mean? Between me and most of these QC people, those people heading all this company, they move around from one company to the other. They move around. Then if you, among your friends, for example, like I said, in my church now, my church is big and I belong to a lot of groups in the church. Everywhere I go, I tell them what I do. You know, some people now, if you check their international passport, I just use that as an instance. They might say they are businessmen. You understand?
Yeah.
I didn't put businessman on my own. No. Pest control services is what I put. Everybody knows me. Baba Peku. Baba Pest Controller. In fact, the slogan of my company is licensed to kill. They knows me. So I don't hide. Most people hide their identity. People don't know what they do. They just say, well, I have cards. I just give out cards. I give out. It might be hard in the beginning, but one person, God will touch one person to remember. You see, sorry to be quoting, but they say, God remember Sarah as he has said. God will put it in the heart of one person to remember you. And that one will just be because when you, for example, since I started this job between me and you, I don't have marketing staff. You might not believe. I've never had a marketing staff. The people that I work for market me. That's just the truth. I don't have marketing staff. The people that I work for, they market me. Because I make sure, like I just told you, a company that said they needed catering, I don't cut corners. You understand? I went as far as Ghana. You can ask this guy at Bayer. He was the one that even orchestrated it. We went to Ghana to get catering. I would have used other chemicals. They won't know. You understand? But since they insisted on catering and I promised to supply them, we went as far as Ghana to buy catering. We went as far as Namibia to import catering just for that company. And we had good return on our investment. So anybody that is starting small should just continue, but should make a lot of noise. Let people know what you are doing. That's just the truth. Let people know what you are doing. Through that, they will contact you. That is my advice.
All right, so my last question. In your experience so far, what will you consider as your biggest challenge? I mean, the challenge that maybe at a point in time made you feel like, oh, maybe I'm considering pulling back or looking for something else. Have you ever encountered that kind of challenge that was so discouraging, probably that made you have a think of, you know, do I have to even see the name here?
Yes, that one I've had many. That is the truth. You see, they talk about footballers. They say they don't play footballers for non-footballing reason. You understand? I've lost some good jobs due to non-pest control reason, if I may put it that way. Maybe You know, this our job is so funny. I've lost, let me say about 2 or 3 are coming to my mind now. Maybe somebody just came, he has a friend that is in the business and he wants to give the job to his friend and he has the power to do it. I've had serious situations like that on about 3 major, all those periods, because on one of the, in fact, 2 of the situations, they have to call me back. But one, I refused to go back. I just delivered because there was no, you know, we are doing a job, we are doing the right thing, no complaint, nothing. And somebody just come. The next thing you hear is that your job is gone. I mean, for what? What is my offense? Kilo day, let me know so that I can improve. Nothing. But because he has a friend, he wants to give the job to. On such times, I always feel discouraged. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So at this junction, I quickly want to give 1 or 2 participants opportunity to ask our guests questions based on what we talk about. And generally questions, we may not be able to delve into storytelling so much because we've been here for almost 2 hours now, which is, you know, maybe the longest time we spent on a series of years, but it's quite educating. We're enjoying every bit of time. So Mr. Jonah, you can drop your question. If we cannot maybe unmute our microphone, we can drop the question, we'll read it out. But if you have a question, I can see Engineer Pompey, you raised up your hand. Please, you can go ahead with your question. And any other person that has a question can also go ahead. If you cannot ask, you can drop it on the message. We're going to read it out. So good evening, Engineer Pompey. Please go ahead with your question.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Thank you for the insightful. The story is very encouraging, and we really appreciate your time that you gave to us. So it's very wonderful. The only thing I want to ask is concerning the food factory, and we have a food factory that we treat, but they do complain about lizard. By the time we do it, after 2 days, 3 days, they will tell us lizard disturbs them a lot. I don't know from your experience what can be done to control that.
Okay, to control lizard.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You see, I will tell you 2 things and one orthodox way that I've tried and it worked. One, what is attracting the lizard to the place? I don't know if you check, you see, one thing, I used to tell people that when you have snakes in an area, that means there are rats or other pests. You have to check what is attracting the lizard. What do they feed on? What do they feed on? What attracts them? What do the company you are working for, what do they produce? I don't know. Before, let me give a little illustration. For example, I work for a company. They use the brewery product. They call it BDG. I don't know how many of you know about BDG. It's a waste from, is it barley or wheat? One of these brewery products. And they use it to mix feed meal. I mean, feed, animal feed. That thing is from the brewery. And I noticed that lizard, in fact, when they sun dry it somewhere, and when they sun dry, you just see lizard, they surround the place. I just use that BDG. I mix it with zinc phosphide, and I gave it to them. It works. That is the truth. But what are they producing where you are working? What do the lizard feed on? So these are some areas you have to look into. Next question, please. Or if the other person.
Mr. Badmos Babatunde, please go ahead. Mr. Badmos, please go ahead with your questions. Mr. Badmos. Then Mr. Badijo, you can. So, yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, my brother.
My question question is about Nigerian factor in organization, where when they find anybody doing any contract on field, from top to the gatesman and the other staff, they want PR. I just want you to give them something, whether it's good or not. You even see the greedy one trying to think about it, sir. They don't have knowledge about it. They are ignorant, but they just want to pull you down because they want something in an envelope. So how do we handle that, sir?
I must be honest with you. It's part of our system. But I don't want to mention one company. If I mention where it is, you people will know about the company. There's a pharmaceutical company in Isolo. I don't want to mention the company. There was a day I just sat down. I was doing their job. I just sat down and I calculated how much I was giving in PR. I call it PR. I now saw that, come on, what am I doing here? I just told them I'm no more interested. You see, it's part of our system. That's just the truth. You must navigate your way, your way through it. There are some people you cannot avoid, but it depends on, there are some that little change will solve the problem. That you cannot avoid it. It's our system. You can't avoid it. Thank you.
I know.
All right.
Somebody is raising up his hand.
Mr. Badijo, please go ahead. Mr. Badijo.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Thanks for being there for us. I pray the Lord will strengthen you for us. Amen. In Jesus' name. Amen. And permit me to also say a very big thank you to Mr. Tolu Caleb. I don't know how to thank you, but I don't want to waste time on this. Thank you very much. God bless you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I have a challenge in one of my sites, and the challenge is the termite that coil the tree. I try to use the cutlass to scrape it up, and I apply the chemical. Yeah.
Which chemical did you apply? Sorry, which chemical?
I use a rocket.
Look, don't go far.
Yes, sir.
On Monday, there's a new chemical in town called Premise. It will be launched at the Gulf View Hotel, Ikeja. Please come there for training on how to treat chemical. Monday morning, I think it's 9 o'clock or what time?
Yes. I think I've shared the banner already.
I think that one we solve that we take care of it so that we'll give others chance to ask questions. It will be launched at Gulf View Hotel, 9 o'clock Monday, but you need to register. Maybe you go to their
you can chat me up also. I think I already dropped the stuff.
So just come on Monday.
I'll send you all the information on WhatsApp.
All right. On how to do that. You are welcome.
Thank you. All right.
Somebody is raising his hand.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Tolu. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. How are you today, sir?
Mr. Tolu, I want to thank you very much. My name is Patrick Oyewumi.
Okay, sir. Please go ahead, sir. We can hear you, sir.
I can hear you.
You can hear me, sir?
Clear and clear.
Okay, sir. Sir, I want to thank you, sir, for the wealth of experience you have shared. I would say I'm really encouraged because I have had some situations that have dampened me about things that does not relate to our work that affects your job, and you have shared some of them. I also want to thank Mr. Tolu Caleb for giving us the privilege to have access to this wealth of experience. Like you said at the beginning, we're supposed to pay for it, but your own contribution to developing people. This I've noticed is part of you to develop people. And that's why God is also lifting you up. And God will continue to lift you up in Jesus' name. Sir, I want to ask, in part of your discussion, you as part of the report, you said we have to write. You made mention of concentration. When we are doing our report, we should talk about the concentration. And that gets me a bit confused. How do we really write the concentration? Is it in the mixing or what? Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Thank you. You see, so as not to get it twisted, mixing ratio can surface. What do I mean by mixing ratio? For example, if your chemical, you apply maybe 200 mils of the chemical to 10 liters of water. You understand? That one is enough. You don't need to go into it will give 3 grams per kg, you know, all those stuff. Just mention your mixing ratio. For example, maybe 200 milliliters to 10 liters of water, or 150 ml or 250 ml to 10 liters of water. That is your mixing ratio.
Okay.
You know, naturally,
okay,
the concentration outside is always stronger than inside for food and beverage companies. For example, if you are using like 200 ml inside the factory, you should know you will use like 250 outside, where most of the pests are. So that will suffice. Just mentioning the mixing ratio will be enough.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Jonah.
Mr. Jonah, please go ahead. Good evening.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Mr. Oluyemi Taiwo and Mr. Tulu.
Yes,
okay,
please.
You talked about the recommended chemicals and equipment. You made mention of so many. So what equipment, what machines can we use to apply these chemicals? For example, can we use a fog machine to apply the excipients in a food and beverage company, or we use the normal the manual water-based machine? That is one question. Then the other one is, what are the best way to eliminate rats completely apart from the base stations? Because I have a company, I have an organization I did a rat control for, and for like a month they were free from rats, but after a while they started complaining of rat again, and that's a place eating up their food or their stuff. So I was thinking, was there anything I have not done right that makes those rats come back in? Because I did the access and I told them where and where to block. I told them where and where the environmental where they need to take away, not putting trash or dustbins, leaving them overnight, and all of that. I don't really actually get why in a few period of time they keep suffering from the rat issue again. So that is the second one. Then how do we find a good insurance company that we can rely on? Do you have any you can refer us to that we can trust to work with? So those are just my 3 questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. As per the machines, depending on the product being produced by your clients. For example, let's say brewery, you cannot, in their factory, you cannot use a fogging machine. Probably in their warehouse, yes. But in their factory, that is in their warehouse where they store grains. Then for machine, you can use pressure sprayer, all this B&G. You know what, okay, I cannot hear you now. You know what I mean by pressure sprayer? pressure sprayer, motorized sprayer, cyclone sprayer. You can use even the manual for external spraying. That is the manual jacto. You can use it. Then you mentioned about rats. I would have loved to ask you, the company, is it wall, the fence? Is there a fence wall around? You need to check that. If there are openings in the fence, you need to block them. Then one thing I want to mention, when you want to control rats, not only rats, there's something I do, which I found very useful. Any company you work for, ensure you spend a night with them, at least a quarter. Either a quarter or 4 or 5 months. Go there in the night. This company you are talking about, go there in the night. I believe they do night shift. Just stay around, walk around the compound, and see where the rats. Let me give you one illustration. There was a company we were working for, and your base station, I don't know whether you install base station to start with. You see, you must have first line of defense at the perimeter and second line of defense by the immediate surrounding of the factory before you even go into the factory. If the rat escapes the first line of defense, it will not escape the second line of defense. And what's the distance between your base stations? All these things. Then what bait are you using? Like I said, go there in the night. Watch around, look around, you will see the movement of the rats, where they come from, how they go. You will see it. Just stay a night. It will kill you. Stay a night with them. Just move around at night. You will see them in the night. The rats move mostly at night. Go there in the night, just take permission, let them be aware that you are coming, and just hang around, move around the compound. That will solve the problem. For insurance, most of these, our insurance has this personal indemnity insurance now. So, like me, I use, what is this, my Leadway. I use Leadway. So, you can contact them, Google their name, you will see them. I hope I've been able to answer your questions.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much once again. I will just be taking the last question. Sorry, we can be here till midnight. It's possible, but you know, tomorrow is Sunday, and I'm sure a lot of us have to go to church. But most of the things I hinted on, we promised to send a template, a free template of a pest control contract. Maybe we can drop our emails on WhatsApp personally. Yes, and I keep on saying this contract I kept on hinting on is one of the secrets that a lot of us don't know that will give us edge. You know what I mean is that most of these companies, I hope I'm saying the right things, and most of these organizations, it's not like they really wanted to give us contracts. It's not like they are happy to give us contract, but it's part of the requirements of their external auditors.
Exactly.
That they must produce a document that shows there's a contract between them and the vendor. And in most cases, the contracts will always have a condition that you cannot just wake up and say, you are not doing again. Each party must give notice. So let's assume that something is going wrong. We can come back to negotiation table and say, within that 3 months notice, things can be amended. Unlike places like all these schools that you can do first time, another person is doing second time. Okay, for example, now I'm going to mention the name. Yeah, you know, currently we have two years running contract with Chi Limited. You know what that means is that for the rest of this year, without marketing, without stress, we are so far everything is going on smooth. We are not bothered.
Yeah.
You know, so that is the area that makes this sector more lucrative, because the contract will give us some stability. Not that you do this one today, tomorrow you are no longer there. I've seen one of our babas in the industry that I don't want to mention the name of the company. I've been servicing them since 1993. You know, imagine 1993 till now. Yes, you know, that's a long time, and it helps. You understand? So, but my own area of concern, which is like to me that I knew that is going to be a challenge. That was why I kept on pushing that question, is that getting access to this level of, it wasn't easy for us. Even despite that we're doing training, we're doing all these things, we were not having the opportunity, you know, like to have customers in this category. You know, from 2011 or thereabout, I think maybe 2017, or let me say 2017. So, and there were a lot of effort to get one, but they were not coming forth. And I know some of the people that are here tonight listening to, but have been trying the same thing, and it looked like they are making it look so easy. And I've been on this thing for a long time. That's why I was more concerned on from the experience of our guest speaker that, you know, the things that might hate us, you know, for somebody that has not done something in that perspective before, that can just wake up and without connections. We know no man works in, you know, in work a lot in this. But the major thing that I am going to advise, and I will still ask my Oga to add one or two things, is that our documentation must be ready before jobs opportunities. Most of us always wait for opportunities to come before running from. Why do we see getting a Orecon license as a liability? It's an investment. You know,
Yes.
If you have the Orecon and there's no job, keep it. 6 months, no job, keep it. One day a single job will come and will cover up for that Orecon license. You know, there are some other certifications. Of recent, we got some international certifications. And at the last webinar, I said it that left to me, we don't need it. We don't need BPCA to practice pest control in Nigeria. We don't need to be a member of NPMA to practice pest control in Nigeria. Why do we, for BPCA, we're paying about £510 every year. What are we benefiting? We benefit more from PECA, you know, but a client, or let me say somebody, a competitor was using that as a leverage against us in our organization. We have a client that we have about 3 companies that we're serving them. And this one will come, we say, I'm a member of so, and they'll look at you and say, it's only Rotimas that is a local company here, a Nigerian company with no any affiliation with it. I would say, okay, you have to merge your competitors, you know, in every aspect. They bring FOGA, you bring your own FOGA. They bring certificate, you drop your certificate. You know, it's healthy competition, and that is why we have done some of things. But I just, to round up the session, I would like, if there's anything you think, you know, startups can strategies that, apart from the way God helped you to start, that can make someone that is doing 3 bedroom to, you know, at one day. I've mentioned documentation. That one is, I know you cannot deal with any companies that belong to the category without having complete documentation. This insurance is part of them. License is part of them. You cannot, tax clearance is part of them. Some of us don't even know anything about tax. And some of these companies will even ask for 3 years tax clearance. They will not even ask for 1 year. Yeah. Some will say, some might even say 5 years. You understand? So documentation, knowing what is needed, what, you know, to bid for all these jobs. So, sir, I'm leaving the floor for you to round up. Unfortunately, we will not end up to take any question. If we have any question, I'm going to drop our guest number. We can reach him on WhatsApp, you know, so that we can go and relax again tomorrow. Yes, if we have questions that we cannot remember now, I'm going to drop his number. And we recorded this for some of us that have missed some part of it. We're going to be sharing the link maybe before the end of next week on YouTube. Everything is recorded. No, please, you can send the email to me. Okay, we'll copy it from here. We can also send it to me personally too. You understand? So, sir, on the final notes, okay, strategies that startup can use.
On a final note, you see, don't be afraid. My advice is that don't be afraid to start small. Then have friends. What do I mean by have quality friends? That is the truth. Belong to groups. You see, last week, let me just chip in this. I was in Ibadan for my old student secondary school reunion. It's 40 years that we pass out from secondary school, but we're still close. So what am I saying? In church, belong to groups, social groups, church group, and don't hide yourself. Don't call yourself a businessman. That is one thing people do that I don't so much like. When they ask you, what do you do? I do pest control. I do pest management. Like I said earlier, if you check my international passport, pest management service is the profession you will see there. But some people will say they are businessmen. Businessmen is an open-ended stuff. So join groups, have quality friends, tell people what to do, and don't be afraid to start small. Like Mr. Rotman said, do your various registrations, license, permits, everything. Do them in believing that the doors will open. Thank you very much, and
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Special recognition, my biggest and my other boss in the house, that's the person of SPCO, Shuneye. I've seen you since the beginning. Thank you for joining us despite your tight schedule. Yes, he has been with us from the beginning, and he has been here.
So
thank you so
much.
Much.
Policemen monitoring me.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. We spent almost 2.5 hours, and it's been insightful. A copy of the will be on YouTube. And like I said, if we have questions, we can reach out to me for direct contact of our guests. We can take advantage of WhatsApp. Maybe some questions might not be coming to us now, and we can continue the deliberation on WhatsApp and other platforms. Learning is continuous. Learning never stops. The day we stop learning is the day we die. And thank you once again. Thank you, sir, for this, for the privilege of having you. I've always looked forward to this for a very long time, and finally it has happened. We appreciate you, and we pray that God will continue to bless you and your family. Until when we decide to have, we have just three editions left to round up this series. We actually meant to get to 10. We'll be announcing the dates when we'll be having this anytime soon. But we started something of recent. Maybe some of us have seen it. We call it virtual chat room for pest control professionals. It's different from this kind of webinar. It's just a platform where once in a while we come together and have a general chat. And we don't have any dates in mind, but anytime we have it, we always announce it. And from tomorrow, from 20th to the last day of this month, for the very first time, the library that we proposed has everything is in top tier for some of us, but we need to just do a registration. We're going to send the process of registration to come free of charge. We have a lot of books, that we can come, maybe spend 1 hour, 30 minutes. And we are working on an online platform where you don't physically need to visit the training hall, where you can just download maybe one series per month. You can have access, read, and expand your knowledge. That's what we're also working on. So once again, I want to say thank you, and I wish us a lovely week. Thank you. From here, I'm signing out, and I say thank you once again. Good night.
All right. Thank you.
All right, sir.
Yeah.